What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Kind of a little bit different kind of video today. Basically in this video I'm going to be talking about my most recent tournament, basically how that went and why there's not like any footage for it. So yeah, we're just going to get right into that. So basically it was super cold, like practice day. I had planned on filming like a kind of a travel vlog slash practice vlog, kind of put that into one video, which I did. I got about half of that, and then my GoPro stopped recording. Like basically my GoPro, I had my GoPro set up for a time-lapse thing, just to kind of do a time-lapse on the way there, because it's not going to be like the pro videos necessarily, because they're not that far away from me. This tournament was only about 2.5 hours away. It was out at Lake Granbury for Texas Bass Nation. So yeah, I had that set up for a time lapse in the truck, and it cut off pretty quick for some reason. I never heard it. I'm thinking maybe the battery might have popped out of the side because I didn't have a side hatch on, and that seems to happen pretty often. But so that happened, and then practice day came, and the high was 27 degrees. And so since I didn't really get enough footage for the travel part, because I went ahead and I was gonna go ahead and start editing that, and it recorded for a total of 3 minutes, so that was really nothing because I started it before we left a gas station. So it didn't hardly get any of that, so I just decided I was going to scratch the travel practice vlog thing for that tournament. And the high was 27 degrees during practice, so didn't really want to have to mess around with the camera too much, because that's not the warmest weather. Rod tips were freezing up a whole bunch. Just having to dunk it in the water. Dropped one of my rods in the water and then went and grabbed it. Arm was cold after that, but we didn't even catch anything in practice, so I guess not like y'all missed much there. And then so I guess basically tournament day came around. Filmed the intro like usual, filmed some clips going down the boat ramp, stuff like that, going to our first spot. I didn't have the chest mount on, but I did have the console mount on. And the thing is I wasn't using one of my Hero 10s. I was actually using my old Hero 8, because I was basically charging everything for it, and the only stuff that actually fully charged was my stuff for the Hero 8, so I just said might as well just use that. I'd never really had any issues with it, so I had that set up, had it running, and I think it was on for about a third to maybe half the tournament, and I hadn't caught a fish yet, and then it turned off. I assumed it was just like out of battery or something, but it would not come back on. I was switching the battery out multiple times. I think I have about 8 batteries for it, and I switched them all out. It would not come back on. No idea what was wrong with it, and now it's working fine until just recently. A short that y'all might see, I don't know yet, it just fell in the pond with no side hatch on, so no idea what it's going to be like now. I've done the same thing with this one, and it was fine. The SD card was trash though, so it's over there drying in the grass, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, basically that's about what happened. It would not come back on, and I mean, none of the stuff for my Hero 10 fully charged. I have 2 Hero 10s, and so the stuff for that didn't ever fully charge for some reason. I didn't really have the best charging setup for it all, because I usually don't use my Hero 8, and so I had a lot of stuff I was charging for that, which I probably shouldn't have, because I really just brought it as a backup. And so yeah, ended up just using that, cut off about a third of the way of the tournament, maybe halfway, and it just wouldn't come back on. I hadn't caught a fish yet. And then, it was probably a little after halfway through the tournament, we made a move. We hadn't caught any fish yet. We made a move to a spot I hadn't hit in practice. I'd been to it before and had some luck at a different time, but didn't go to it in practice. But yeah, went there. There was someone on that spot, and so it was basically, there was this cove, and I wanted to fish the point on the cove, but there was somebody on it, so I went to the other one, which I'd never fished that before. And first cast, I got my first fish of the day on a crankbait. I think it was probably about 3.25 pounds, so it was a solid keeper. So yeah, I got him put in the live well, fished there. I really didn't fish there much longer because those people had moved off of that spot. They were just beating the bank right there. So I put the trolling motor on high and went across, and so got to that spot. Kept throwing the crankbait, just caught a fish on it, so kept throwing that. Ended up catching another one that was I think it was half an inch shy. So threw him back. I threw the crankbait around for a few more casts, and I don't know, something, I just kind of wasn't feeling it anymore. So I picked up a jerkbait that I actually ran to the tackle shop and gotten that morning, because it was a trailering event because of the weather, and first cast wasn't until later than usual. First cast was at 8:30, and usually we take off is at 7:30. So we're usually on the water about 7:15. But we just kind of got up at the same time as usual, so we had time to run to the local tackle shop. For those of you who ever fish Lake Granbury, Tri-Lakes Tackle Town, a lot of you have probably been there. Super cool place. Highly recommend going if you haven't already. By far my favorite tackle shop I've ever been into. Went in there, I grabbed a few different things because they're just things that I knew I needed. I was out of drop shot weights, and I always got to have a drop shot. And I wanted to get some jerk baits because I didn't really have any that I liked. So I went ahead, I grabbed some Berkeley Stunnas, and because I've never caught a fish on a jerk bait other than the Lake Whitney tournament some of you've seen, and they were 8 inches long. So I went in there and I got 2 different Berkeley Stunnas. They're both different colors and both a different kind. And so I tied one on, and after I caught that one on a crankbait, threw a few more casts and didn't catch anything on that crankbait, I picked up that jerkbait and I threw it a few casts. I'm pretty familiar with working a jerkbait. Seen a lot of stuff about it, and I've done it before, so threw a few casts with that jerkbait. I think it was actually on my second cast, I think I actually caught a fish on it. And it was another solid one, probably about 2.5 pounds. What? Is that an alligator? It's probably another 2.5 pounds, I think. I don't remember exactly, but another solid keeper. Those are the kind of fish you want to catch, especially in conditions like that. Not many people have caught fish during practice. It had been so cold the past few days, so keepers like that, honestly, you can take what you can get, and they were super solid fish, so can't complain about those. So I was sitting at 2 keepers pretty quick, pretty close together. So I kept throwing the jerkbait on that spot, and I didn't catch any more on it. And so I moved down a little bit because there was a dock on that same spot, and I picked up a drop shot. Got those drop shot weights that same morning because I was somehow out, and I gave that a few casts, just kind of casting around, just casting at the bank, casting at that dock, because it was a pretty big dock. So there were a lot of different places I could throw a drop shot. So through it, I gave it several different casts, and then one cast at the dock, and I hooked into another one and managed to land him on, it was on the drop shot. And you know, that was probably about the same size as the first one, 3 to 3.25 pounds. So pretty solid keeper. So kind of catching them on a little bit of everything. I keep throwing the drop shot. I'm kind of mainly throwing the drop shot, start working the dock a little more after I catch that one. I throw the crankbait a little more, same with the jerkbait, with a cast or two with both, but mainly throwing that drop shot around that dock. And I think I actually, working that dock a little bit, I ended up catching 2 more. I ended up catching 1 more on the drop shot, but he was too small. He was probably like 10 inches. I know I gave another cast with the crankbait, and I caught another one that was too small. I think he might have been like 6 inches long. I thought he was big because I casted, and when I was reeling the crankbait, he hit it, and the crankbait kept diving, but it felt heavy. So it felt like something was digging, but he ended up being like 6 inches long. So now, you know, we got 3 keepers. I finished fishing that area pretty thoroughly. I got 1 on a crankbait, 1 on a jerkbait, 1 on a drop shot. So I decided to go back to the other point where I'd caught that first one, since I really hadn't fished it that much. Fished it a little more with all 3 baits. Didn't catch any more, so I kind of started working down that bank because it had some good looking stuff on it, and I didn't catch any more. And that bank, I fished a small stretch of it that looked pretty good, and then it started getting a little too shallow. I didn't really like it. So looked on the map, and it looked like it started getting pretty good further down that stretch. So I kind of just put the trolling motor on high and just kind of got down that stretch pretty quick. Wasn't really fishing it. Throwing a chatterbait a little bit. Didn't catch anything on that. Then finally got to the area I wanted to fish. You know, started throwing the crankbait a little. I think I might have gave a cast or 2 at the jerkbait. It was a pretty deep spot, so I was kind of mainly relying on that drop shot at that spot, and didn't get anything right there. So I turned around because it was an entrance into a cove, and started fishing that other point, and went to the point of that cove, and it had some good riprap. You couldn't see it up on the bank. It was basically a seawall, and with a riprap bottom. You couldn't see it because it was underwater. None of it came out, so it was a pretty good depth. I think it was about 5 to 8 feet, and that's whenever I picked that crankbait back up and started throwing it quite a bit more around that spot. I was throwing a Berkeley Fritside 7, so kind of something that worked around there pretty good, and worked around that point, because it wasn't like a super sharp point. It was just a rounded point. And I mean, right before I was gonna leave that spot and go back to where I was catching the other ones, I caught another fish on that crankbait. He wasn't a big one. He was like, I think he was 14.25 inches. But he was another keeper. That was fish number 4. So I went ahead and kind of worked a little far, like there wasn't much more to work down that same direction. So worked that, fished around it, turned around, worked down that same bank again, and you know, didn't catch any more, and decided to run back to the other spot where I'd caught those other fish. I didn't catch anything else the rest of the tournament. And when I had gone back to fish that other spot, I think I had 15 more minutes whenever I left the spot where I caught my last fish. So didn't really fish it that long, but I ended up not catching any more fish there. So, you know, pulled the trolling motor up, and we headed over to weigh in, beached the boat. And whenever I got to weigh in, you know, weighed in my fish. So I ended up having 4 fish. They weighed in 10.15 pounds, which is pretty solid bag for 4 fish. If that last little fish would have been a little bigger, would have been a little better bag. Kind of the way my mindset was I was gonna be disappointed if I didn't win that tournament, because I had been doing whatever it took to win that tournament for the past few months, since the last tournament when I didn't even catch anything. And so, you know, that was my mindset that whole tournament. I wanted to win. I didn't want second place. I wanted to win that tournament. So, you know, I I knew with those four fish, I think I was probably going to be top 10, maybe top 5. I felt like top 5 was pretty possible because of the conditions. Got to weigh in and weighed in my fish 10.15 pounds, and that put me in first place at that moment. And you know, we just kind of, me and my dad hung around weigh in, just watching everybody else weigh in, because I think we weren't super early to weigh in, but there were still plenty of people we were waiting on to come weigh in. So there were plenty of people that could have beat me, and you know, people were weighing in, and basically end of the tournament came around, I was still sitting in first place. So I got my first official tournament win, and out on one of my least favorite lakes, which I'm starting to change my mind a little bit on that because of just the last few times I've fished it, starting to figure it out more and just have more confidence in fishing it. But yep, got my first ever tournament win on Lake Granbury, and I am very upset that I did not get it on video. Of course, that's whenever it would happen, is whenever I don't get it on video. That's when everything happens. Here's another example real quick. I tried to film a trout video. I know a lot of you probably know about that. I fished 9 days. No, I fished 10 days for trout. Didn't catch anything. Recorded every day because I wanted to make sure if I caught a trout, then that I got it on video. And so the 11th time, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna record this time. So me and my buddy went out and we both limited out on trout. We caught a ton of them. By the time we got our limit, we just stopped fishing for them. So things like that happen whenever I don't have a camera on. I'm pretty sure like my top 5 biggest carp, I did not have a camera on. Thankfully, I did get my biggest bass on camera so far. A lot of you might have seen that video by now. If you haven't, check it out. It was awesome. But yeah, got my first official tournament win on Lake Granbury. I'll be popping pictures up on the screen. Yeah, super unfortunate that I did not get it on video, and I'm still upset about that. You know, being happy that I got that tournament win, but man, it's kind of like a little, bittersweet. She didn't get on video, so you know, I guess there's only one thing you can do, and that's go do it again. So hopefully my Hero 8 is okay, because this whole time I've been planning on having 3 different cameras set up, but now I don't know if I'm gonna have 3 different cameras. But hopefully that one's okay, and I'm gonna have the chest mount on, gonna have the console camera on, I'm gonna have Hero 10 on my chest, Hero 10 on the console, and the Hero 8 in a different spot. As long as I can get it there. It's gonna be kind of a weird spot, but yeah, hopefully we can have that work out. Next up, we got OH Ivy, you know, land of the giants. I have not had much luck on that lake in the past, but I am feeling a little better about it because this is my 2nd year of tournament high school fishing, and last year I fished pretty much all the same lakes I'm fishing this year except for one, and I kind of just didn't know how to fish it. I felt like you had to go live scope everywhere, and that's not always the case. Didn't use live scope at all at Lake Granbury. And you know, OH Ivy, it's going to be a place you got to scope, so I know that, and I know where to go, but got a pretty good idea of what to do at Ivy, so we're going to see if we can't make it happen. Going to do my very best to get that travel and practice vlog to y'all, as well as the tournament video. I've got some more stuff coming in to make sure we got enough battery and power banks. Super excited for the rest of this season. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for sticking around for this video. I know it wasn't super entertaining, but I wanted to have something out there because I know I said I'd document every tournament on video if I caught something or not, but camera didn't want to work this time. So I guess sometimes that happens. You got to learn from your mistakes, and so definitely did. And now we're gonna have a lot of different cameras set up, make sure we got plenty of battery for everything, and make sure I know how to make sure everything charges correctly, I guess, so I don't have to fall back on the camera that doesn't work. And now it got dropped in the pond. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing any of my other tournament videos, I will leave that playlist. I'll pop it up right here somewhere on the screen, somewhere at the top, one of the top corners. It'll kind of come out. Thank y'all so much for watching today's video. My phone ended up dying while I was recording. Then I recorded the outro with my GoPro, and apparently it deleted all that footage. So basically the only thing that got deleted was the outro. So thank y'all for watching. If you stuck to the end, you're a real one. You know, if you stuck to the end, comment down below the end, I guess. I don't know, but yep, I'm actually filming this after the OHIV tournament, so there will be a video for that, and most likely a travel vlog. Didn't catch many fish, but there'll be a video. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors that make this possible. If I can get a back shot, maybe. Got a bunch of good sponsors that make this possible. So, huge shout out to them. Thank y'all for watching to the end, and I guess I'll see y'all in a video real soon. Peace.